So, chat, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I've been seeing this going around, and this is crazy because I'm pretty sure Pooh Shiesty just got out of jail. So, we got Gucci Mane kidnapped, robbed at gunpoint by disgruntled rapper. That is a crazy statement. Disgruntled rapper, which means Pooh Shiesty. We gonna get into the facts. We gonna get into what's going on. Let's get into this, y'all.
9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas.
Famed rapper Gucci Mane is reportedly kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint, all in an effort to allegedly release rapper Pooh Shiesty from his contract. But the feds were hot on Pooh's trail, tracking him down and his accused co-conspirators after they flaunted about their big haul on social media.
All right, bro. This is the one. Yo, bro, I never get this. If you gonna do a crime, why are you gonna do a crime and rob somebody? Bro, why are we doing this on social media, gang? Why? Why y'all keep showing what y'all do on social media, brody? Y'all not low, y'all not nice, bro. What's going on, gang?
Media. This is Scandal, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie. The court docs in this case honestly sound like a nightmare scenario. Rapper Gucci Mane and multiple of his associates reportedly thought they were going to a normal meeting at a recording studio, but instead they were allegedly ambushed, held against their will, kidnapped, threatened with automatic weapons, and at one point even believed they were going to be executed. The masterminds behind this alleged scheme, well, there are some names you might recognize.
Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30.
Bro, y'all remember when Lil Durk said, Pooh Shiesty, that's my dog, but Pooh, you know I'm really Shiesty? Hey, I guess them two niggas was in line. Them niggas is Shiesty as hell, bro. Them two niggas Shiesty, huh?
We know all of this now because the feds have released a lengthy criminal complaint against this duo and their alleged co-conspirators, and the trail of breadcrumbs they left behind for investigators. Like, for example, flaunting stolen items on their Instagram, including stacks of stolen cash, Rolexes, and Louis Vuitton bags. But that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of evidence against them.
This case should serve as a warning to others who believe that using violence and
crazy
intimidation tactics
Pooh Shiesty is Gucci Mane's artist, is he not?
Rob others in our community is
crazy.
a viable way to conduct business. I'm here to say that it is not, and that if you choose to do this, we will, together with our law enforcement partners here and the other ones in the Northern District of Texas, will bring you swiftly to justice.
If you're interested in cases like this one, we're talking top true crimes in his field, featuring Lil Durk. Needless to say, Gucci Mane is a staple in his field, both as part of the record, but also everything that goes into
I'm not gonna lie, Gucci Mane is kind of chopped, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Without the beard, that nigga is chopped. That nigga look like a fucking bullfrog, bro.
Founded 1017 Records back in 2007, featuring some
that
of the
nigga Gucci
top
Mane
artists
deadass look like
in
a
the
bullfrog
hip-hop
without no
world.
beard.
And one of the artists that he signed is now accused of being his kidnapper. Here's where I've got to introduce you to Lontrell Williams Jr. You don't recognize that name? Well, maybe you know him by his
Pooh Shiesty, that's my dog.
stage name.
But Pooh, you know I'm really Shiesty.
He was signed by 1017 Records back in April of 2020, and almost right away, it was a success. By the following February, Pooh Shiesty was peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 200, and his mixtape, Shiesty Season, even went platinum.
Nigga,
So
Pooh
things are
Shiesty
going
was about to
well
tell
for
Gucci
Pooh
Mane to get it
Shiesty.
back
That
in
is
blood,
until
huh?
2021, when he got locked up for
get
conspiracy
it
to
back in
possess
blood.
firearms in furtherance of violent and drug trafficking crimes. He was convicted in Florida and served some hard time there. That is until October 31st of last year. And that's when a judge approved his release and home detention, meaning he'd be on house arrest. And all of this meant a few things. One, Pooh Shiesty had to wear an ankle bracelet, a tracking device, so this could show where he is and when. And this is going to come back later. Now, the second part of his release conditions meant he agreed not to possess any deadly weapon or knowingly be in the company of a person possessing the same.
Bro, I'm
and these are
convinced
two
niggas like
very
being in jail,
important
bro.
conditions, especially based on the allegations
talking a
that are
little
now
slow for
wagered
me.
against him.
I'm sorry,
and those
man, she
allegations
talking a
take us
little
to
slow,
January
bro.
of this year. That's when Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane were set to meet up.
You gotta
for
speed up,
conference
my heart.
results.
Lontrell
Talking a
Williams
little
Jr.
too
arranged
slow.
this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims.
On January 10th, Gucci Mane flew into Dallas, Texas to meet up with Pooh Shiesty. He had a group of people with him, including his head of security and a couple of other associates. At about 1:45 that afternoon, Gucci Mane shows up at the scheduled meeting location. It's a recording studio in Texas. But when his group got to the studio, they realized it wasn't yet open. So they're kind of waiting around. Some of the group goes to a nearby liquor store. They buy some alcohol and some red Solo cups, and then they come back to the recording studio. So at about 3:15 p.m., the studio finally opens up. Everyone goes inside. Well, everyone for the most part. According to the court documents, Pooh Shiesty's father, Lontrell Williams Sr., stayed outside and he was talking on the phone. And he's seen on security camera video there between 3:27 and 3:28 p.m., putting him at the recording studio. Now, according to the federal court documents, at about 3:39 p.m., Williams Sr., meaning Pooh Shiesty's dad, comes inside and starts talking to Pooh Shiesty in the back of the studio. And it sounds like an argument. At 3:43 p.m., a group of suspects are caught on camera.
Lee, he got the niggas. He got the niggas out there, huh?
Walking into the lobby
Got
of
the
the studio.
dogs.
Some of Gucci Mane's friends are still inside, just drinking and watching a football game. And it's
All
around
of them
this
in
point when
they
some
all
of Gucci
dressed,
Mane...
all dressed in black with ski mask on. Yeah, Brody, safety.
His friends are still inside, just
Safety,
drinking
my
and
heart.
watching a football game. And it's around this point when some of the victims hear Pooh Shiesty on the phone. And it's a heated conversation, and it sounds like he's on the phone with a parole officer. Now, this isn't confirmed. It's just what victims reported to the feds based on the context of the conversation that they overheard. Because remember, Pooh Shiesty has been convicted of a crime and is supposed to be on house arrest. According to the charging documents, Pooh Shiesty claims he was given quote-unquote rec time, but the parole officer tells him to return home immediately. Gucci Mane overhears this and says, hey, no problem, don't worry about it, let's just reschedule our meeting, we can do this all later. But Pooh Shiesty says no and demands they meet in private. Now, most of the people wait around in the main area, kind of the lobby of this recording.
These can't happen over Zoom. We in the big 2026. We can't do these type of meetings on Zoom.
Studio, but Pooh Shiesty, Gucci Mane, and Rodney Wright Jr., known as the rapper Big 30, head to a private area. Inside the control room, Pooh Shiesty produced purported contract termination or release paperwork from a bag and told Gucci Mane to sign. When Gucci Mane declined, Pooh Shiesty became agitated and the pair started to argue. Now, the argument allegedly intensified in the recording room, and Pooh Shiesty demanded Big 30 grab his bag. And that's when Pooh Shiesty allegedly...
See, that nigga said grab his bag. I'm running out of there. Safety, my heart. Nigga, I'm like Sonic. You can't catch me.
pulled an AK-style pistol from this bag and pointed it straight at Gucci Mane, allegedly demanding that he sign the paperwork releasing Pooh Shiesty from the contract. Gucci Mane complied, signing the paperwork for Pooh Shiesty while his dad and Big 30 stood by. Gucci Mane was not allowed to leave the recording room while he was held at gunpoint by Pooh Shiesty. After that, Big 30 got out his phone and allegedly began recording. According to the federal court documents, Gucci Mane was forced to say he released...
I'm putting you on to my record label and you pointing a gun at me? At me? Hold on. Did I just skip? I just skipped like a whole bunch of stuff. Did I? I just skipped a whole bunch of stuff. Hold on.
Office supply store and a hotel where several of the defendants stayed following the offense. Fingerprint evidence as well that was recovered from the crime scene, matching at least two of the defendants. Social media posts by defendants displaying what appears to be stolen property just in the days following the offense.
Like, bro, why niggas love yo, bro, why y'all steal stuff and then go on the internet flexing it, bro? Like, yo.
Greyhound bus records confirming the travel of multiple defendants from Dallas to Memphis the day after the offense.
And there's a lot to unpack here, namely the number of suspects.
I be thinking people just want to play catch.
These individuals,
they just be wanting to play tag with the police, bro.
Lontrell Williams Jr., also
that's
known
what
as
I'm
Pooh
thinking
Shiesty,
at this point, game.
Lontrell Williams Sr.,
niggas just want to be playing
Jr.,
tag with the
also known as
police.
Big 30, Kadarius Waters, Demarion Gibson, DeMarcus Glover, Corday Johnson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers has not been arrested yet, but will be soon.
The next rather valid question is, if this alleged kidnapping happened back in January, why did it take until April for any arrests? Well, the feds have an
Man, this
answer
shit
for
happened
all
in
of that
January?
too.
A lot of this was subpoena work, search warrant work, and things like that in order to develop the investigation. And so the agents here with me, the agents out in the field, it takes a little bit of time to identify who did this offense and build a case so that we feel comfortable bringing the charges. So actually that's pretty quickly for a federal case of this gravity and this nature. And so I'm very proud of the investigative work, and it will continue from this office as well as our FBI and our local police department.
The charges these suspects now face include kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. And if convicted, they face some pretty hefty possible sentences.
They're facing a range, so there's no mandatory minimum in this case. It's a range of punishment, and it'll be in the province of the judge, whoever gets the case. But it could be from 0 all the way to life imprisonment. And as you know, a lot of what will guide what's called the sentencing guidelines will be
Life in
the
jail.
individual's
He
previous
just got
criminal
in jail
history,
too, bro.
the fact that one of these individuals committed
I
offense
swear,
while
niggas
on
like
home
being in jail,
confinement,
bro.
so actually
They
serving
be
a
having
federal
fun in
offense. Assuming that
Just be
individual
having
is
fun
convicted,
looking
that
at
will be an
straight
aggravating
dudes
factor
and
for
lifting
sure.
all the day.
Yikes, so if these suspects are convicted, they could
These thugs. All these thugs.
face some serious time in federal prison. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. We got to talk about the allegations first. And to do all of that, I want to bring on today's expert guest. It's former prosecutor and trial attorney Bridget Williams, right there in Texas. Bridget,
Oh,
it's great
Bridget,
to
black
see you.
do
And
not
okay,
crack.
here's what I'll start with. What is your
Yes,
reaction? What are your
ma'am.
thoughts about
Yes,
these
ma'am.
allegations? Right
Clock
from the jump?
it.
From the jump, just something like this happening, it's just so crazy and mind-blowing. The person who is being charged with this, I think his name is Pooh, Shiesty. He was just recently released from jail, federal prison, just last year, and he was on house
Nigga like being in
detention, is my
jail,
understanding. And then now we have this new charge. It hasn't even been a full year yet, and so it's definitely something that is crazy and something to look into.
It's a really quick turnaround, too. You pointed this out because Pooh Shiesty was serving time in prison. Then he was released as far as a home detention, so he had the bracelet and everything. This was on October 31st, so Halloween, right at the end of the year of 2025. Then the allegations of this alleged kidnapping are early January 2026. So it's literally a matter of months, honestly weeks, that he's accused of this other really serious federal crime. So how does his past conviction play into all of this?
So the main thing that sticks out to me here is that he was on home detention, and as a part of that, he was not to have any type of firearms in his possession at all. You are not allowed to have any firearms in your possession
Nigga
whatsoever.
do not care. You think he care? That nigga do not care. He
And
Pooh Shiesty for a reason, gang.
now, just like you just said, less than a couple of
Shiesty,
months
that's
later,
my
here you
dog.
are
But
on
Pooh, you
footage,
know I'm
surveillance
really
footage
shiesty.
from a local building where you were that shows you with a gun. You have a gun in your possession, and so you are automatically giving the court what it needs, the evidence to pretty much say that you violated that home detention and the rules of the court. And so that can be a huge issue, and I'm pretty sure that's going to come up on his hearing for that matter.
Yeah, that's something that was pointed out in the court documents, that basically some of the conditions were, okay, you have to be at home, number one, for the home detention. And according to the court documents, his parole officer had called him and said, you got to get back home. You're violating all of this. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, and maybe more severely, he allegedly had this firearm with him or is in the presence of other people who had firearms, both of those things, not allowed at all. So that's kind of a bad thing. But the ankle bracelet, to me, I feel like that's a piece of evidence, because of course that's going to track where he is. That would be how his parole officer would know, okay, he's not in his home, he's not in the GPS coordinates where he should be. But then does that give prosecutors a leg up, because they can trace where the GPS bracelet was, and on top of the surveillance video you pointed out, literally place him right there at the scene of the alleged crime?
I think you hit the nail right on the head with that. They have the ankle monitor that is
Nah, all jokes aside, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. The nigga's a dumbass, bro. Like, let's keep it a buck. That nigga's a dumbass. Like, bro, first of all, you have an ankle monitor on telling your every move. Why are you going to even do business when you know you're not supposed to be doing business? Second of all, you're not supposed to be having guns. So you bring guns and you threaten your boss, your CEO, the person that put you on, the person that, you feel me? Well, I don't know if he put them on, but the person that putting money in your pockets and you want out of your deal, bro. This is all about business. This is why people can't have. This is why us black people, we can't have no certain type of business. Because why are we bringing guns to a business meeting? Why, bro? And if it's a business meeting between both of y'all, why is another man inside the room with y'all, bro? Mind you, I don't even think the other nigga was his manager, bro. Or if it was, then okay, that's cool. But I don't even think he was a manager. I think it was another rapper. So
your exact steps, and especially you have a
no
court
lie,
order that says that you
no
are
lie.
not
Pooh
to
Shiesty
leave
is cooked.
this specific location, and you did so anyway. You got on the flight, left, and not just went around the corner. You left the state and went somewhere else.
Oh nah, he left the state. GG's.
And so now we are crossing over into another state altogether, and so you're violated it in multiple ways. So you left your location, and now, like you said, allegedly have possession of a firearm. And so that's more than enough evidence that prosecutors can have in order to bring up in his hearing.
And you mentioned something really important in this case, the fact that state lines are allegedly crossed. There are 9, I guess you could say, co-conspirators or 9 defendants here in this case, and it's a federal case. Do you think it is federal because of that, because a lot of the people had crossed into Texas and left where they originally were?
That is the exact reason why it is federal. In order for something to rise to a federal offense, there have to be certain elements that have to be met. And most of the time, whenever someone is involved in a federal case or federal crime, a lot of times it's because they have done what we call interstate transport or foreign transport. So the crime has taken place across state lines, or it has crossed over into another country, something along those lines. So most of the time, whenever there's a federal crime, it's because someone has traveled across state lines.
And that's something we covered here extensively on Scandal and on Long Crime, the P. Diddy case, where there were allegations of, transport to engage in prostitution, crossing of the state lines. Obviously different allegations here, but it's the, going from state to state that helps make it federal. And now
can you imagine if he actually shot Gucci, bro? If he actually shot him and harmed him and shit? Man.
A kidnapping charge that's federal. To me, that sounds pretty serious.
God,
is that right?
Thank God he ain't do it, but she.
A federal case, a federal
just imagine
case is going to carry.
Imagine Gucci said no. Imagine that nigga said no. You staying in this contract. Fuck that. You gonna have to shoot me. Bah! That nigga gone.
Years of as punishment.
Imagine
federal kidnapping. The punishment range can be up to.
Can you imagine
life
that?
In prison. They don't give a minimum amount with that, so it can be up to life in prison. These individuals are being charged with federal kidnapping and also robbery. In a robbery case, when we have that, that's going to be a maximum of 20 years in prison on a federal level, up to a $250,000 fine. If it's armed robbery, so we have armed robbery with that. Now we have a maximum of up to 25 years in prison and up to a $250,000 fine. So these are some pretty serious allegations.
Oh my God, as you're breaking it down and I'm kind of trying to calculate, okay, how long could their sentence be? What sort of fines would they face? It's really serious. And if you do read the court documents,
they going to jail for a long time, especially Pooh Shiesty. Because he was already in jail.
Shows that Gucci Mane and his associates, his security,
that nigga was already in jail, so he's getting.
They said that they were fearing for their lives. They thought that they were going to be executed. The fact that these victims alleged.
What? Huh?
They said that they were fearing for their lives. They thought that they were going to be executed.
Oh.
The fact that these victims allegedly had brandished weapons against them, were holding them against their heads. That to me is very serious. I put myself in that situation. I hope none of our viewers, anyone is ever in that situation, but I think about it and I think, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Hey, one thing we can't say, we can't never say Pooh Shiesty's not like that. Hey, that nigga like that. He upped the knock on his CEO, bro. That nigga upped the knock on Kingpin, bro.
I'd be peeing my pants. I'd be saying my prayers, and very.
Can you imagine
terrified.
that?
So is that something?
Up the knock on Kingpin, bro.
The fact that they were truly scared for their lives,
bro. That's the nigga that's putting you on. That's the nigga that's paying you, bro.
They don't need that in order to even prove the kidnapping charge. They don't need to show that they were in fear of their lives for the kidnapping. That's not a requirement. But adding that on top of that, especially if it's a trial setting, that's going to be something that the jurors take into consideration. That they held these individuals against their will, and in addition to that, they robbed them of all of their belongings. So they took, I believe it was a Rolex and some other, jewelry and things like that. And so they're brandishing weapons, and so they're taking things from them. No one knows what that feels like unless you're in that situation. And so to bring on someone into a trial setting and they explain that and tell the jurors about that, that's going to be heavy.
I don't know if they're gonna say it on here, but I heard that Gucci had security. He had security on him, like downstairs, or like a private officer or some shit. And the private officer came, like, he texted the private officer. One of the victims texted the private officer that Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane was having an argument, and the private detective officer, whatever, was on his way up there, bro. And then I think when the officer came up there, he or she, I don't know what it was. He or she saw the altercation going on. He said, fuck that. He saw all the knocks in the room pointing at Gucci Mane and his man's head. He said, "Fuck that." That nigga, I'm not risking my life.
Trial setting, and probably extend their years out whenever we're talking about that in a trial setting.
Yeah, and one of the victims too, there were photos of it in the court documents, the charging docs, that they had allegedly been strangled almost to the point of losing consciousness. There were scratches on their neck and their body. That, I mean, is physical harm there. But you also pointed out something really important here. The allegations that the suspects stole a lot of different things. You talked about the Rolexes, there were Louis Vuitton bags, chains literally off their neck, their wallets out of their pocket, AirPods, everything. That, I mean, is terrifying. But then here's my question to you. They go, I mean, these are all allegations, but there are photos of them taking pictures of, oh, here's the Rolex, here's a bunch of cash, here's all of these things, posting it onto social media to their many, many followers that is now being featured in a criminal document against them. Why take a photo that is that incriminating and post it?
Cause they stupid. These niggas do not. I'm telling you, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Certain niggas love to go to jail. They love being in there. They like watching other men work out, bro. Words of bro. Like,
that is the thing that blows my mind every single time. Whenever someone provides proof of the crime and then we post it to social media, I think sometimes people forget that social media is social, right? Any person can have access to your social media
mind
account.
you, these are not nobodies. These are fucking rappers, known rappers, bro. Especially Pooh Shiesty, bro. Hands goons. These are known rappers.
And just as your followers have access to it, individuals who work for the government, investigators,
do not care,
prosecutors,
bro.
all those individuals still have access to your social media accounts. And so anything that you post on social media, again, because it is social, is able to be presented into evidence in a trial setting.
Bro got a Scarface t-shirt on, bro. Look at these thugs. Nah, these thugs.
Social is able to be presented into evidence in a trial setting, even that before we get to trial, in the complaint, which is where we are right now. And so they're using that evidence that you provided willfully onto your social media. You gave it to them in order to move forward with this complaint.
Yeah, it's honestly thoughtless, careless for them to do that. I'm glad that they did that so that they were arrested. Again, these are allegations. They haven't been convicted, but this does seem like some pretty strong evidence to me. And I guess one of my next questions too in all this is this alleged kidnapping robbery scheme happened back in January. We're now in April talking about this. So there's been, a couple of months, a couple of weeks between when it happened and now when these arrests came. Why do you think it took so long? Did the feds really want to kind of get their case together? I mean, I remember back in the days of P. Diddy, we talked about the raids in March. It wasn't until September that he was actually arrested. And everyone was telling me the feds, they want an airtight case. So do you think that's why?
Free that nigga Diddy. He just wanted to be Nikki.
So long?
I'm joking.
I think
Chat, I'm joking.
that it took, I don't feel like this is actually a long time. This is the state had to, or the federal government had to do their due diligence to make sure that they had enough evidence to present in a complaint to a judge. You want to make sure that if you're going to bring allegations such as this, that you have enough evidence to back that up. And with their
Chat, would you slime your boss out if you try to play with your face? Would you slime him out, chat?
Long time at all.
Would you slime your boss out? Trying to take his bag.
There may not be a
God damn, they killed. It was a white boy.
Complaint that arises from a felony case for a year. It could be even longer than a couple of months. So even this is such a short time period, I believe. But I think that the federal government made sure that they did their due diligence to make sure they had everything that they needed in that complaint.
It's so funny that you say that because I'm such an impatient person and I'm like, oh my God, it's been a couple of months. And then you rightfully said, for the feds, this isn't that long, especially when you pointed out everything like the statute of limitations. So me and the public were like, what was going on here? But you're right, they have to take their time. And this, to be fair, it wasn't a year, it wasn't 2 years, it was a matter of months. So that, okay, I'll give him that one. The next question I have on my list for you here is talking about the motivation here that Pooh Shiesty allegedly wanted to get out of his contract. He signed under this record label, he wants to be done. Okay, so then he forces, again, allegedly, Gucci Mane to sign and say, yep, you're done, you're free to go. They take a video of it. Okay, that to me seems as though, based on the allegations, this was signed under duress. So does it mean that this is a legitimate binding contract?
I think that that's going to be something that if he tries to say that it is valid for him to get out of that contract, 110% that that's going to be under duress. It's on video that you forced him to do this under gunpoint, right?
Right.
So he didn't willfully say, or there wasn't a mutual agreement in order for him to say, well, yes, we're going to release you from this contract. And so there's no way in any courtroom that a judge is going to honor that, to say that you are going to be released from your contract. So the only way for that, it has to be what we call a meeting of the minds, right? So a mutual understanding that both of us are agreeing that this will happen. If you are doing that under gunpoint, under duress, I didn't agree to that. I did it because you're holding me hostage. You are forcing me to do so. So I never agreed to it in the first place.
It's so interesting because they go from collaborators working at the same record label that Gucci Mane
To social media going forward, I think a lot of times people will try to.
The defense, I know that parents run ideas for another episode of Scandal. Please send them our way. Our tip.
All right. I was not gonna listen for them to yet for another 3 minutes, but hey, man, W video, bro. Hey, what did we learn, chat? We learned that Pooh Shiesty is really shiesty. That Pooh is really shiesty. But hey, I'm not gonna lie. We also learned that the nigga's a dumbass, bro. The nigga just got out of jail and he went right back to jail. But hey, we can't call that nigga soft. He upped the knock on his CEO, bro. He upped the knock on his CEO. He's like that, gang. I don't want no smoke. I don't want none of that.